Going to happen. Okay, so you've done your bit checking on legislation. I've just checked on my legislation. As I said to you, the shop does not have to accept it just because it is legal tender. You said it's legal tender. You are correct. However, it is a commemorative coin. On the internet, they're worth about 20 quid.
Well,
right. So here is what is going to happen. Either you are going to pay for your fuel correctly, or you are going to fill out their civil recovery form so that you can arrange to make payment at a later date, or I'm going to arrest you for bilking.
What's bilking?
Bilking, making off without payment. You've got to the point where payment is due. You're now refusing to make payment, therefore I will treat it as a criminal offence. So how would you wish to proceed at this point?
Well, I have got means to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not going to fill out a civil recovery form as you put it.
Right, so what's the means that
what was the option 2?
So option 1 is either you pay, option 2 is you fill out the form, option 3 is that you get arrested.
Well, pay.
No, you pay with legal tender that they will accept.
That is legal tender.
No, they don't have...
But if this is a £50 note and he said, oh look, we don't accept £50 notes because there's lots of forgeries,
exactly.
Would you be doing exactly the same thing now?
Yes, so if you go into a corner shop and try and pay for a penny chew with a £50 note, they are perfectly within their rights to refuse.
Alright guys, today we are going to break down a courtroom style clash that starts as a simple payment dispute but quickly spirals into a legal showdown. From confusion over legal tender to a shocking arrest and a costly outcome, every moment builds tension. Watch closely how a basic misunderstanding turns into a powerful lesson in law, authority, and accountability.
No, it's not different.
No,
you have offered a form of payment that they will not accept. The principle is exactly the same.
Well, if you arrest me, it'll be a wrongful arrest.
Yeah? It's not. It's a lawful arrest because I've explained the situation and I've explained that I believe you're doing this for
Are you a
dishonest
sergeant
reason.
or an officer?
I am a sergeant.
Right.
Okay? So, my point is also that coin is not worth the face value of it. It's not legal tender in such a way that this shop has to accept it as being valued at £100.
Okay, so it has... Hang on.
Short of the mark.
No, I'm not. So it is got a face value of £100, so it is worth £100.
It's not.
Well, you say that, but the Bank of England, the House of Commons, the state, all the institutions that came before you say it is, right? But you say it isn't, right? Now you say it's only worth whatever you say it was. Interestingly, I don't know if you've looked at the price of silver, but that's probably worth about £48 in silver. Hang on, I haven't finished yet. So that's £48 in silver.
Yeah.
Whereas, how much is a £20 note or a £50 note worth in plastic? What, a penny or two?
This opening sets the tone perfectly, laying out a situation that sounds simple but hides serious consequences. A man tries to pay with a £100 coin, fully backed and legal, yet staff reject it and call police. The narration already hints at a major mistake by the officer, teasing a courtroom fallout and payout. It instantly hooks attention because you know something small is about to escalate badly and someone in authority is about to get it very wrong.
Check to make sure it's not an unlawful arrest.
Another unit, please. This chap's about to be arrested.
Would it be unlawful arrest?
Well, it's not a wrongful arrest.
It would be a wrongful arrest. Well, how can you arrest somebody for refusing to pay when they're offering to pay with a coin of the realm?
Because you're not offering to pay with payment that they can accept or will accept or have to accept. No.
Now, interestingly, you said that you've done some research on this and I've done this before.
Yeah.
Well, what was the outcome of it last time?
It was no further action.
Why was that then?
I don't know.
Well, how come you've got a record of that?
I'm about to let you drive off from here.
Well, how come you got a record that I did it last time, but you haven't got a record of the outcome?
Why? Because I haven't got time to look at that right now.
But you have got time to arrest me and deal with all the paperwork that'll be involved in that.
Yep.
So that's just abusing your power, I think, because what you're trying to do is
you're power proportionally. These people here are trying to run a business, and you are making life extremely difficult by being obstructive in how you're going to pay.
Here's where tension kicks in. The officer draws a hard line: pay in an acceptable way, fill out a form, or face arrest. It sounds official, structured, and confident, but there's a problem. The man isn't refusing to pay, he's offering payment. This moment matters because it frames the entire conflict. The authority figure believes he's in control, but the logic underneath his argument is already starting to crack, setting up everything that follows.
I'm here to enforce the law, I'm not here to decide. I just suspect that an offence has taken place, okay? So I'm not convicting you, and you're refusing to cooperate with me any further. You're refusing to resolve this situation by giving these people your details. So therefore,
no, I don't, because what you're trying to encourage me to do is not to give them my details, but to fill out a legally binding form. You're actually encouraging me to fill out a legally binding form, right? That would be detrimental to me.
Why? Because you have to pay for your fuel just like everybody else in this petrol station?
No, because you're forcing me not to use cash. It's exactly the same as you...
No, I'm forcing you to provide the legal tender that this business is willing to accept.
But it's not for them to pick and choose which...
It is, absolutely.
No, it's not.
If they will only accept payment in Pokemon cards, that is entirely up to them.
Yeah, but they need to state that on the pump. Right, when I take the fuel, they say payment only in Pokemon. I'm not trying to. What do you think? What do you think I'm trying to achieve then out of this?
So why are you not willing to offer any other sort of payment? Do you have bank cards on you?
Maybe it's a matter of principle. This is a coin of the realm. You shouldn't be threatening to arrest me because of their preference as to what type of note or coin they accept.
Now the legal argument begins to unravel. The accusation of making off without payment doesn't hold because the man hasn't left and clearly intends to pay. This is where the situation shifts from a simple disagreement into a legal contradiction. The officer is treating it like a crime, while the facts suggest otherwise. It creates tension because you can see the misunderstanding growing, and neither side is backing down.
What type of coin that Tesco accepts or not?
It's my job to make sure that you don't go past the point of payment without making
Well,
payment.
I haven't driven off, have I? I've got every intention of paying with this coin.
No.
If I had no intention, if I was trying to do something dishonest, I'd driven off, wouldn't I? But the fact is, I've waited here for you to come and I've discussed it with you. I've tried to explain it, being very civil, don't be rude, have I? In any way, I've got no disrespect for the police whatsoever. Might go downhill a bit if you arrest me unlawfully.
Okay.
I just think, please, just check that it's a lawful arrest, but I don't think it is.
I believe it is.
And the whole point of cash and legal tender is that you cannot be successfully prosecuted for non-payment if you've offered legal tender. So if I had Scottish notes, right, now they're not legal tender in the UK, they're not legal tender full stop, but Tesco's actually...
This is a critical turning point where credibility starts collapsing. The officer claims the £100 coin isn't really worth £100, reducing it to its material value. That statement directly contradicts how currency works. The man pushes back with logic, pointing out that face value is what matters, not the metal inside. At this point, it becomes clear the issue isn't refusal to pay, it's a lack of understanding from the person enforcing the law.
Now in the store it's different because I haven't taken the food, have I? In fact, if I'd have eaten the food, I'd be obligated to pay for it, and then it'd be the same scenario, just the same as if you went into a restaurant and had a meal, and then you have to pay afterwards, and you offered to pay in that. Right, they can't lawfully have you prosecuted for failure to pay if you've offered a reasonable means of payment and they've refused to accept it.
Yeah, but you've refused to identify yourself to this person.
Well, I don't need to, do I?
I'm now starting to view your actions as being dishonest.
How have I been dishonest?
I suspect an offence is going to occur.
How have I been dishonest?
Because you're refusing to give your information to this gentleman, so that...
But he's not entitled to my information, is he?
He is.
Okay, if I told you what my...
because you have a debt to settle up with him.
So
to go to the restaurant scenario, if you ate your meal and then said, I've forgotten my wallet, I've got no means of paying.
Oh, no means of paying.
Yeah, okay. So at that point you're not being dishonest. At the point that you refuse to identify yourself, or you put Mickey Mouse care of Disney World on a piece of paper and say, here's my details, you're then becoming dishonest.
What about if, we went to the restaurant, we had a meal, right, and then I pulled out a £50 note and they said, look, we don't accept £50 notes. They can't make a decision about refusing to accept the £50 notes when you owe them money. They can only refuse to go through with the transaction in the first place. It's only because you've had the goods and you owe a debt that they can't refuse to accept.
Now it gets more frustrating. The officer admits he's seen a similar case before but can't explain what happened or even check the outcome. Despite that, he's ready to escalate to arrest. This moment exposes something deeper. This isn't about law anymore, it's about authority being used without proper grounding. The contrast between refusing to verify facts and being willing to arrest someone highlights a serious imbalance in decision-making.
Yeah. So how can I be refusing to pay and being dishonest in any way when I'm offering to pay with a coin of the realm, a legal
Because
tender
you've
coin?
offered a form of payment that they are unable or unwilling to accept. Therefore, as I said, the onus is on you to find alternative means. You've failed to do that,
Okay.
and you are now proposing to leave here without actually giving any means of identification so they can arrange at a later date to make payment with you.
Okay.
So therefore, because of that, I suspect that you are about to commit an offence of making off without payment.
See, now I reckon that if you've offered to pay, and I've offered to pay lots of times, got it on video, and right, and they refuse to accept the payment, I can't see how that I've committed a crime, even if I don't
failed
pay.
to provide an alternative means of payment or come to an alternative agreement.
So, what you're suggesting is that you're going to arrest me based on the opinion of a Tesco staff member,
No,
whereas
I'm
another member of
arresting
staff
you
might
based
have.
on my suspicion.
Suspicion.
I'm sure with the amount of time this gentleman has spent here, and the fact that other colleagues are aware of the fact that we have been here for half an hour,
Nah, 16 minutes.
I'm sure if he were able to take that coin, he would have done it by now, because he's got plenty of other things to do. You are costing them money by the fact that your car's sat here taking out these 2 lanes.
Well, I've offered to move it, but he said no.
If they could,
I offered to move it, but he said no.
But if they were willing to take this at any point, they would have done by
Now,
now.
don't you think, Ben, right, that the country's biggest retailer would have a simple, basic understanding of coins of the realm and the legal tender situation and what they can do and what they can't do?
Well, they clearly do by the fact that they are not obliged to take it just because it's legal tender.
Because he said so. But how do you know he's right? And how do you know that what he's saying is the opinion of Tesco's as a company as a whole?
It's not that he's right, it's that the Bank of England is right, and it's the Bank of England that states that the shopkeepers are not legally obliged to accept any royal tender.
Right, okay, I understand where you're coming from with that, but that's referring to buying something from a store, not for paying a debt.
Okay, it's still the same,
No, it's not.
same situation.
No,
Okay,
it's not.
that's fine.
It's actually on the Bank of England website what legal tender is.
Yeah, it is. As I said, I have no argument with you about that at all.
This is the strongest breakdown in the entire exchange. Using a simple restaurant analogy, the man explains that once a service is received, payment becomes a debt, and legal tender must settle it. It cuts through all confusion with clarity. The officer's argument struggles to respond, and you can feel the imbalance. This isn't just debate anymore, it's a clear demonstration of who understands the law and who doesn't.
Do say maybe you've been in evidence. Do you understand?
Yep.
Okay, so my intention at this time is to take you to Exeter Police Station where you will be put into custody. The reason for that is for the prompt and effective investigation of the offence and to confirm your identity and your name and address.
Well, it'll be unlawful arrest, won't it?
No, not at all.
Right, where do you want me to park
I
my
have
car
the
then?
suspicion that you're about to commit an offence.
Well, what offence am I committing?
I've told you, I think you're about to make off without payment, and if I don't arrest you, then you will make off without payment. So there's my grounds.
Well, I'm offering to make
Can you come
payment.
out of the car, please?
Yeah,
sir?
sure. No, no.
Okay.
There's no use to use violence, is there?
No, well, step out of the car,
let me
please.
just get my affairs together, alright?
Okay. Do you want to provide your details, or are you going to go to custody?
Well, I'll provide my details to you.
Yeah, but do you want to provide them to this man here?
No, but you want me to fill out a legal document.
Yeah.
No, I'm not filling out a legal
Okay.
document.
Everything reaches its peak here. Despite all the explanations, the officer proceeds with the arrest, basing it on suspicion of something that hasn't even happened. It's a dramatic and frustrating climax, because you know it shouldn't be happening. The aftermath reveals the real consequence, a legal battle and a £5,000 payout. That final detail flips the entire story, proving that misuse of authority doesn't just fail, it comes at a cost. That's it for today's breakdown. If you found this analysis valuable, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.